Ordinance.
Okay. Oh, 7 o'clock.
The time is 6:59 p.m. and the date is November 3rd, 2022, and I'll call to order the City of Jervis Council meeting. Now I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Amy's not here, so Diana, how about you start it tonight?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic.
Susie, I'll ask you to do roll call.
Denise isn't here, obviously, with us. She's at a training, so I'm telling you. Roll call. Councilor Foreman.
Present.
Councilor Gonzalez is absent.
He's excused.
Mayor Gillen.
Present.
Councilor Wagner.
Present.
Councilor March.
Present.
And Councilor Harvey.
Present.
Okay, now we have some announcements and additions. I don't have any myself, but I believe you do, Susie.
I do. I would like to announce that John Robinson, our Public Works Superintendent, has chosen to retire effective tomorrow.
What? Who's that?
Executive decision there.
John's been with the city since 2008, so 14 years. He started out as a utility worker. And when Pat Claxton retired from Public Works Superintendent, John became the superintendent. I would like to recognize his wife, Shelley is here tonight, and his daughter, Amy, is here as well.
Katie.
Or Katie, I'm sorry. Katie. So congratulations,
Yeah.
John. We wish you well.
Were you going on your first minute?
Thank you.
And then I can talk about it a little bit more during my staff report, but part of our succession plan has been to bring Kyle Jench, sitting right there, into the position. And so effective Monday, I'm promoting him to Public Works Superintendent. Kyle has been with the city for 7 years and has demonstrated loyalty with a capital L, Oyalty. Anyway, I have every confidence that he will do fine in that position. Congratulations. Kyle.
I'll get you after meeting. So everything's good?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move on then. Now it's time for public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person with an optional 2 minutes for council questions and answers. If you wish to address council, please come forward to the podium and identify yourself for the record. If you're not comfortable giving your name and address, you can do it by going to Susie this evening. I'll ask that there not be any heckling this evening. This is whoever's at the mic's time. So please refrain from bursting out or anything. It's disrespectful. So with that, Reese, I see you ready.
Hey, Reese, 10:45, Ivy. Service. I have a question for you. We'll get back, John. But anyway, this is, Amazon is here, and I need to ask you guys, what did we get from Amazon? How come, did you guys talk to Amazon? Have you got together with them?
Can I answer in the middle of your speech? I won't even time you yet, Jim, but I don't want to lose sight of what you asked. So go ahead. You know what? Go ahead. Finish.
So I just wanted to know if, did you guys, have you talked to them, communicated with them? I mean, I know, the only thing that I know that we're gonna get from them is the traffic.
Okay.
That is what we're gonna get. But somebody has to in here, talk to them and see what's going on. I mean, if JR was here, they said they had a survey on how many cars were going through. And it was, they said it was like 15. I mean, I wish he was here, he could tell you better. But he said he counted a heck of a lot more. So that's something that we have to get something from them. Okay, I have one more question. I mean,
Go
think
ahead.
about it.
No,
and
no,
stuff.
go ahead. I want to answer.
Yep, yeah, okay. The other one question is for Chief. Okay, I know there's been talking about tickets and stuff being done outside of Jervis, more or less, why are they getting stopped? I just wanted to ask him, maybe explain what's going on with that. So maybe Chief,
Well,
take that one
we'll get
first.
to that. Yeah, go ahead. But I hadn't heard that one myself. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sure.
Do you keep it brief? That'd be great.
It'd be tough to keep it brief. No. Bottom line is, so like, I'll use the complaints sometimes come in on Butteville Road, that why are we up at Butteville Road and Highway 219, which is the area that they're closing down for the bypass for the Amazon building. So like, for example, the cars going northbound on the corners of Ivy, there by 7th, 8th Street, Mesquite, and they're heading out of town and the speed's 25 and say they're doing 50. And an officer sitting back at 6th or 7th Street, well, then an officer has to catch up to them. So it takes a while to catch up to them unless you're, going way too fast. And so by the time they catch up to them, sometimes it's past Jensen Street. And then between Jensen and Parr Road, there's basically ditches on both sides, so it's unsafe. They can't catch them by Jensen, and they catch them like maybe at Parr Road, and they're going over the overpass. Between Parr Road and Highway 219, there was, at the time, now there's a lot wider area because of Amazon, but there was ditches on both sides, so it was unsafe for both the officer as well as the person being stopped because it couldn't get completely off the roadway. So oftentimes the speeder that we're stopping here in Jervis, for speeding here, we don't make a stop till later because it's safer for us and for the person. Second part of that is that we also have a Oregon Department of Transportation grant. So Oregon receives federal dollars into the state to do traffic enforcement. And then the state then divvies that up through application to various police departments. And the police department receives grant funding. I know it's something that the council and the mayor wanted us to try to receive grant funding to help pay for our costs. And so we receive grant funding. Part of that agreement is to do both traffic enforcement inside the city, and then I limit it to just a general area outside of Jervis, like maybe Portland Road, Butteville, French Ferry, sometimes River Road. But part of the grant agreement is that we don't just do it inside of Jervis, that we do the areas around town that affect both residents coming and going from our community.
So to your question about Amazon,
Yeah.
early on, Susie and I took a meeting in Woodburn with a gentleman. I right offhand don't remember his name. What's that?
I don't remember his name.
Okay, so what he told us at that meeting was there's gonna be 3 shifts, 1,800 people, and they would divide it into 3 shifts. Well, that turned out to not really be true, Joe. So we did the watch party here when Woodburn met with them. They had their town hall or whatever, and we were on the watch party. What I heard them say is there's gonna be 2 shifts, not 3, but 2 with 900 and some vehicles. Well, my idea, Joe, is we need a no truck zone. It's gonna be 18 wheelers. It's not little vans. It's 18 wheels. And if there's an accident, where do we know? We know they're gonna come right past your house, right? And they're gonna come around that corner and our road structure cannot hold it. So what I'd like to see is our city staff go after a no truck zone. I've sent multiple emails myself, no real reply. I am gonna try to take a meeting with the county. I'm trying to get one, but absolutely they need to give us something, some relief, don't they?
Woodward's getting fixed.
Yes, they've got parks and there's no reason we can't get something for,
You should get a piece of that pot. That's all.
well, Joe, there is, but we need to do a no truck zone to show them that, you are affecting us. And I really believe then they'll come and talk to us because now they haven't been willing to come to the table, not even for Danity at the school. I think you heard that. So yeah, we absolutely
Yeah, that's,
need to get it done.
that's why I'm just hoping that maybe this will get it going and get out there and do something.
Well, what do you think? If we set a no truck zone through our town, what do you think? They're gonna want to talk, aren't they?
That too, yes.
Yeah,
But
so
if you get
that's,
into a meeting or wherever they're, I don't know if they have anything that to get together. you
I've
go
been looking.
And join them, tell them you want to talk to, find somebody up there that's ahead of the thing, and then talk to them and see, what are you gonna do for us?
Well, the way I understand it, they need to do something for us because they're gonna impact our community like no other. And that is not okay. Our roads are so bad. And the problem is we have county and city roads coming through here, right? Like I live on Third. By the time you hit my house, it's county. So yeah, they definitely need to be approached.
All of Third Street is county.
Okay,
The whole way, Utville, Checkerboard, Douglas, that's all county highways, so the only way you can get a no truck zone
Is
is the
through
county
the
would have
county.
to enforce.
yeah.
And have to put an ordinance through that would shut down all those roads to truck. But with all the farmers and everything, you're gonna have a
Well,
hard time.
They
doing
have a
it.
farm vehicle one too that I was told about. There's something out by Newburgh. I'll have to investigate it before I quote it, but I've been looking because I've been checking out St. Paul and different areas that have rural farm equipment to try to kind of find out. I'm trying to glean information process on that. But yeah,
Well, maybe you get some
absolutely.
information more, maybe gives you this month to look and see, maybe for the next meeting, we can find out some more that you at least contacted,
Well, I can show you
and
email
then-
after email that I've sent.
Yeah.
And I think it would come, maybe our police chief, maybe one from you, that said, hey, we've got a problem out here. What do you think?
Sure.
Okay,
But anyway,
Yeah.
that was my, and I'm not,
no, I
Running
think it's a
away.
wonderful question.
I'm
I
not
love
running
it.
away.
I know where
That's
you're
why.
going. Not you.
Anyway, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe,
Have a good evening.
Joe,
Yes,
so wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I came down here tonight hoping that there would be no camping. And the first thing out of your mouth was to ask me not to get mad. And I know what you're referring to, and I wish you wouldn't have done that, because that's not right. You shouldn't have brought it to the meeting. We're here to take care of business, not to campaign. So,
Well, that can't tell you, John.
well, you just did.
You had the outburst last month. I'm sorry, but you had an
I'm not
outburst.
gonna argue with you here.
That was about it.
You made a
You know
statement,
what?
I made.
I'm sorry. but-
You popped off out there out of line,
That's all I
and
have.
that's why I got upset.
All right.
All right. Chief, I didn't hear what you said, what grant was that you were talking?
Grant, traffic enforcement grant from the Oregon Department of Transportation. I'd have to look exactly. I think it's between $5,000 and $10,000.
All right, so is there any other public comment?
Well, I was just wanting to talk about the school grants. Is that gonna affect the school bond, I mean? Is that gonna?
You can
affect-
say whatever you'd like for 3 minutes, till that's you can, you know what, there's no wrongs or rights. If you have something to say, please step to the mic. This is your time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Tolu Flores. I live at 1173 Wingfield Street. And, well, as everybody knows, the school bond is like really up there that some of us can afford. So I'm just really concerned about that. And, oh, and the way taxes are, you know, and everything. They take a big chunk for the school. So I was just like, you know, it's a lot that, Dandy Stevens is asking for. So that's all I was gonna say.
Actually, this is a good point tonight. We are nonpartisan elected officials. We're supposed to be. And I don't want to step on myself or get in trouble because we're supposed to be a neutral party that represents both sides. So but that is going to be something that's completely up to the voters. The city council has no control over that issue. We are all citizens that will take our own stances outside of here, but we should never take it inside.
Okay.
So,
I hear you.
but I hear what you're saying. And I appreciate that you came forward.
Well, just because of the people, you know, there's some people that are really scared of the voice, you know, for all the people that.
Yeah, you get
they
trampled
can't.
if you dare say a thing. I know.
So anyway.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I can say one thing, you have a vote, so you can vote however you want.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Hey, public comments, still open.
Laura Clifton, 1065 6th Street, Travis. When I attended the bond meeting at the school the other day, I'm kind of curious, are we in, I need some clarification. I thought we were in with the school, with the grant writer, but Dandy kind of made it sound like she was looking for a partner for that grant and wasn't really clear on what it was. So I'm kind of confused. Did we go into partnership with the school for the grant or did we not?
Is that your question?
Into my question.
Yes, to my knowledge, we are in a partnership with them. Our tracker's still on there. It was Hilda something or other. It changed names and I remember signing a thing for it. So yeah, I believe we are. Aren't we?
With the same person.
No, we changed from a Lisa to a Hilda. That was what we signed in. Isn't that what you guys understood?
In regards to the
Yeah.
name fixtures, right, or yes.
So we're in partnership with them. We sent a delegation over, was the last I heard. It's a little behind on the track, but yeah, I heard her say that too, and I was kind of concerned about that, but then I looked at the tracker and it said that we're still in it. So,
She did send out an email to Steve. The other grant writer wasn't.
oh, I
able to
understand,
say,
and I
yeah.
signed a paper where we changed names. I don't know if that was resolution, so that was the last thing I remember on it.
I was just confused because Dandy's sitting there saying, I'm looking for a
I
partner.
heard her say that. Maybe we should ask her for clarification. Susie, can you do that? Ask her what she meant. Sure. Because yeah, it was kind of confusing, wasn't it? Now you think about it.
Yes, it was. That's the same thing I was trying to
Okay.
get at is what
What,
she's
what
saying.
are they working for us for? And the school got a grant.
So a couple $100,000, she said that was a separate.
Right. So what are they working?
I haven't had an update for it. No. So anybody else have something for that? Hey, anybody else come forward?
Lisa Sheridan's 987th Street, and we recently had the Juniper Road put in, and they're blocking 8th Street. Is there any way that you can open 8th Street and 7th Street? Does it have to be blocked off 8th Street? Because now that we're dead end and we have like traffic going up, down, up, down, up, down.
The whole point of blocking off 8th Street was because of the blind corner coming in off of Bugle.
Right.
And so to replicate that, the city received a grant and it blocks that off and leaves that just for fire lane only. And that's why 7th Street and Juniper was approved wide
Right.
to take your traffic out to Ivy where it's safer for them by.
That it has to be blocked.
Yep.
That was my question. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kathy Harvey. I live at 1087th Street. And as to the last question, I would like to request that a dead end sign be put going down 7th Street. I'm the last house. I can't tell you how many people come down and turn around in my driveway. During construction, the construction company with mega trucks would back all the way into my driveway, almost up to my garage. No one came and talked to me about it. I thought they were supposed to notify the people, not a word. So there are also approximately 10 children within 3 houses right there on that corner. Not only does a dead end sign need to be put up, but child at play, whatever you said. It's become extremely dangerous. Cars coming from 8th that turn right to get down don't look to see if anyone's coming on the other side because they aren't used to cars there. And there's a trailer parked right there that blocks the view. It's a cluster is what it is. It hasn't improved. I understand why they did it for the blind spot, but they come just as fast past 8th and on to 7th. So I don't think it really helped at all. So thank you.
Go ahead, Ricky.
Kathy, it just so happens, we have an extra children at play sign. It's the little boy that stands. If you would like that.
Well, it needs to be down at the end of the street.
Okay.
Because, and the school bus stops there too. And I don't understand, there are curbs, but there are no sidewalks hooked to them.
Yeah.
I don't know why they made actual curbs on both sides going down 7th, but there's no sidewalks hooked to these curbs.
Well, if you would like the sign, I'd be more than happy to bring it to you.
Yeah, I would like the city to do it.
John?
I think one thing that could help out is, and I think John's already working on that, but moving the stop sign that was over on 8th, over onto that corner where 8th comes across into 7th.
That would help.
That way they'd have to stop there before they come around. But I think John's
Yes.
already put that in works, so that should happen pretty soon.
Thank you.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also, the dead end sign, is that a county request or because it's, or do we have that kind of signage? I know you guys
We'd
put
have
a
to-
stop sign,
We'd
but
have to order it.
but it can be,
It can be ordered and installed, yeah. It's not a county.
so Kyle, would that be okay? Something that you would be,
Yeah, we'd have to address, make sure it's not gonna interfere with existing infrastructure or whatnot. Yeah. Putting up signs is traditionally not a problem.
all right, so maybe look at it, and whatever you need to do. I mean, that sounds like reasonable to me, doesn't it, to you, Marshall? You're okay with that? Like a consensus that we'd like that to happen?
6th Street could use one of those dead end ones too at our end.
Oh, I know, I've been over there.
Yeah.
I know it needs to be. Yes, we're just gonna go down the, yep. So
In the last driveway is where they.
Oh, no, we're going to the ditch.
that was a crazy sight.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So is there anybody else for public comment? Excuse me. Anybody on Zoom? Any comments? Not seeing any. Okay. Do you see any hands or anything?
No, I don't.
So, yeah, I'm not seeing it. So we're gonna move on then, and we're gonna go to our consent calendar. And, A is the minutes of September 15th, 2022 work session with Jervis School District. B is minute of October 6th, 2022 regular session. And C is the bills list for September 28th through October 26th, 2022. And D, the treasury report for period ending October 26th, 2022. there's a requested action, which is the motion to approve the November 3rd, 2022 consent calendar as presented. But is there any discussion? Any questions? Okay, so could I get the requested action, a motion, please?
Make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the November 3rd, 2022 consent calendar as presented. I'll second that.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion carries. Next, we'll move on to our committee report to the ad hoc skate park. 4th of July is over this year, so we'll scratch that.
We did have a meeting. I guess about 3 weeks, yeah. Assume I put a report in, assume we have any questions. No. And part of that, I was wondering about the grant is if we have the grant writer looking for skate park grants.
Well, that, and there's also a grant website that you had asked me about, and you need email access to be able to look for that, is that correct?
I just need a email that was through the city that said it was okay for me to have.
For somebody to okay it.
That was just what it was about. But someone's got to be looking for grants for skate park, so I don't know who.
Okay,
Okay. There are grants available out there. We just need a project. We need to know what the project's going to be, because that's part of the grant application. We have to know the approximate cost. We have to know the design of it, location. So that's my.
yeah, a location I'm confused on because you had mentioned that area over by the water tower to us. And then it comes to find out that someone said the Sam Brown House had been approved to be there. I haven't been able to find that. So that location I think is nil. I don't know, I'd like to go after the railroad property. It can be done, Hubbard's done it.
Just a point on that, the development that was done in Hubbard, that land was purchased by a private owner
Right.
15 years ago, so it wasn't like the city had anything to do with allocating that property from the railroad for other purposes. So that's how they got away with putting that bistro in, that storage yard, it's all on the east side of that main street going through Hubbard.
Yeah,
So I don't, number one, I don't know if the railroad's not really big on selling property. And if they do, then it would have to be up to the city to purchase that property.
well, that or an investor, like you mentioned, my friend Ann is the bistro out there. And so I've done some research on that and you're not wrong on that, John. And what the city did was help facilitate that. And they're pretty big on selling it if you refuse to, if you say you don't want to maintain it anymore. They don't want to maintain it either, is what they use for leverage out there. It would be a process. But otherwise, I don't really see any land available. I mean, and even with that property over there, I'll disclose my mother mentions. For you guys as water department, you might need that. That might be something you guys are going to need in the future, right? I mean, to be honest.
Yeah. Somewhere down.
So if we have to be real careful what we put anywhere. So for me, the skate park, Laura, I don't see a lot of land around Black Walnut Park. You could do that. I'll let you finish your story.
And that's, that are one of the streets that aren't improved.
Yeah, the Black Walnut would be a good idea. There's area over there for a park to go in, is there not? But, sorry, then that leaves us with the fact we owe Ivy Woods a park, so, I mean, kind of convoluted.
We don't owe Ivy Woods a park. The city council decided to take the funds they took in lieu of a pocket park that would have eaten up about 1 or 2 lots in that development. But it wasn't like the city owed that development a park. So that terminology should be not really used because that was the decision by the council. And pocket parks aren't really city parks because they end up being neighborhood parks. And the neighborhood that where you put those, they tend to take ownership of it. So why are strangers in our park? So we don't really owe that development park. Those funds were taken from the city to put a park in somewhere else, but it wasn't like it was designated for Ivy Wood.
But it was designated for a park, just anywhere then? Is that what you're saying?
That's my understanding of where the funds were.
So it can go anywhere, but we still have to make a park with those funds?
It's, yes, it has to be in a park, but it
Well-
doesn't have to be close to Ivy Wood. You could put it anywhere you want, but
See, I
it's
didn't realize that. I'm glad you said
it's
that.
not owed to Ivy.
Okay, so with that money, we have to build a park. So we still have that on our agenda. We still have to do that,
If
right?
you want to utilize.
You
those
know what?
funds,
Thank
correct?
you. That helped. That's a good clarification. Thank you. Go ahead, Nikki.
So, if everyone remembers, I did bring up the idea of the retention pond over there. I know that it does have the potential, doesn't it, to have like a drainage in there if it was to be concreted in? Because that would be. that would-
That's not a good
Most
idea.
detention basins are designed to take stormwater from developments, commercial property, whatever, and hold that water for a certain amount of time to a certain level and let it slowly perk into the storm system. So you cool it, retain it, but you can't just cover it, and you can't have a concrete basin, so it has to have that natural habitat for the stormwater to sit.
Is it- is it-
And if you look at, if you notice Amazon, they have the biggest lake they've built, and that's what that lake is for. It's just nothing more than a stormwater retention basin.
So what about utilizing, where the playground is? And there's the big grassy area that there's a home that's next to it. Is that something that could be possibly utilized there? Because that's a big open space. I mean, it's not gigantic. Okay, so when you walk into the park, from the corner of, so you have Black Walnut and Hemlock. There's grassy areas, but on this one portion, it's just a huge grass area. And then you have the splash pad, and then beyond that, a little further north, you have the playground. Would it be a potential spot for a skateboard park to put in there?
You could, yes.
Yeah, because that would be in the park.
That's
It
what we
would
were
be
looking at.
right there.
You're talking on basically in between the pavilion and the play structure, the splash pad, that big open.
Yeah, you've got the splash pad and then there's that big open area.
Yeah.
Like in between the walkway. and
Near
the house.
Elizabeth's house.
So you're talking east.
Yes,
There's a fire lake.
You got a fire lane in there, and you have a retention pond east of that from 499.
where's the fire?
That might hold it up.
Isn't that a little further in?
It's on the back side there where the fence is beyond the infrastructure to
Yeah.
the side.
We're
Yeah.
talking about it closer to the front.
You're going closer to the pavilion, that open area. Yeah, potentially, yeah. Depending on the side.
Just a minute, Brian. So we're still in the middle of the report. So for a spot, could we get a consensus from the council that Black Walnut might be something you'd like to look at?
I think it would be the easiest way to do something because it doesn't require additional purchasing of land or acquiring of land.
Okay,
It's just.
and then what I need to move forward, could you tell us how we get this engineered and the plans? Find out about that from the National Guard.
Yes.
I'm gonna reach out to the National Guard and see if they'll draw it up for us. Yeah, they said they'd also provide the labor if we provide the materials, so that cuts the heck out of cost. Good connection for us. Great, you just need to know where to move. Right, so that would give you your plans. We could work with them on that. Tim?
So, geographically speaking, if we were to put the skate park inside of the park, we still have issues with lighting the park. That we
Mhm.
can't ignore, especially
Mhm.
since we can assume kids are gonna use the skate park, not necessarily all of the hours that it's supposed to be, because that's what they do and it's fun. So we still, that's my concern, I think it's a great idea, but we also have the lighting issue that we don't have yet resolved.
Because we don't really have the funds, I don't think, because it was estimated a little bit higher than I think what we budgeted, but what would we do if we show some plans and include the lighting in those grant funds? kind of bootstrap them together would be my idea. Susie, do you think that possible?
I think that's possible.
And that would kill two birds with one stone, right? So, Laura, would you like to call Charles Parker? I know he was out of town for a little while when I talked to him about some other things for the kids. Maybe get a hold of him. I'll email him. Okay. Brian?
In regards to this, it's a great idea we talked about, but I want to remind everybody when this thing first started, the concept was to get a park on that side of town. The residents over there want a park. We've already got 2 parks here. We got the schools over here. We got places for the kids here. The whole idea and concept I remember from the beginning was how do we get a park over there for the residents? Now we're still building more parks than the residents already have.
We're adding on to a park, Brian, is what we would be doing, putting the state park facility that the committee's been working on. But no, it was just noted that we do need a park to be built somewhere else. There are some empty streets over here that the committee has looked at. I'm sure Laura would be glad to discuss that with you that might be able to use. For what kind of park is that? Just a little park? What did you call that, John?
Pocket park.
Yeah, so one of those might work, right, for a pocket?
It could, yes.
So there, that would be that. So did that
As
answer
long
your
as
question?
the street has no utility, water main, or anything, yes, it can be developed.
Okay, but a pocket park, would that fit into that 71,000 we took from them, or I would hope. But that would be a park over here, because there's several that we looked at originally.
That would have to be somebody else because I was just doing the state park.
And you know what? We'll cross that bridge when we come back. Anybody else on this? Okay, we don't have any presentations, but we do have a public hearing this evening for, Holly, are you here? Hi, Holly. Hi, welcome, Holly.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Do I
Great.
just start with the top of the script or?
Please do.
Okay. So, good evening. My name is Annie Gilland. I am the mayor of the city of Jervis, and I will be presiding over this hearing. This is the time and place set for the public hearing of the matter of file VAC 2021-03 petition to vacate the public alley in block 25 of the Jervis plat bound by 2nd Street, 3rd Street, Elm Avenue, and Fir Avenue. The hearing is now open. It is 7:35 p.m. Oregon land use law requires several items to be read into the record at the beginning of every public hearing. The city planner will review this material. Your patience is appreciated as she goes through these statements. Holly?
Thank you, Mayor. The applicable substantive criteria upon which this case will be decided are found in the Oregon Revised Statutes 271.080 through 271.230. The specific criteria are summarized in the staff report and will be reviewed at this hearing. All testimony and evidence received during this public hearing must be directed toward these approval criteria or to such other rule, law, regulation, or policy which you believe to apply to this case. An issue which may be the basis for an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals shall be raised no later than the close of the record at or following the final evidentiary hearing on this case. Such issues shall be raised with and accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford this body and the parties to this hearing an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. This case will proceed with the staff report and any other comments from governmental agencies in attendance, followed by all those who are in support of the application. All those opposed to the application will then be allowed to speak, followed by those with general comments who are neither for nor against the application or neutral. Finally, the applicant will be entitled to a rebuttal period, including any questions this body may have of staff or the applicant. All speakers should try to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Please submit a speaker card completed with your name, physical address, and mailing address directly to Susie Marston. Please try to avoid repetition if someone else has already expressed the same thoughts. It's perfectly all right to state that you agree with the statements of that previous speaker. Please be assured that everyone will have an opportunity to speak. If you have documents, maps, or letters that you wish to have considered by this body, they must be formally placed in the record of this proceeding. To do that, either before or after you speak, please leave material with Susie Marston, who will make sure your evidence is properly taken care of. Prior to the conclusion of the first hearing on a land use application, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, it will be up to this body to determine if the hearing will be continued to a time and date certain, or if the record will be kept open for submission of additional evidence. If the record is kept open, it will be for a minimum of 7 days with a short rebuttal period thereafter afforded to the applicant. Thank you for your patience.
Two is ex parte contact or declaration of conflict of interest. With that out of the way, I need to ask the audience and fellow counselors a few questions. One, does any member of the audience have any objection to the notice that was published? Or I guess, Holly, do I ask if we have ex parte first? I'm sorry.
All of the questions there should be asked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll start that one. Yeah. Does any member of the audience have any objection to the notice that was published? Okay, anybody on Zoom? I have not seen any. We'll move on to two. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the city council to hear this matter? Does any member of the city council wish to declare a potential or actual conflict of interest or bias? I'm not seeing where it's at yet. Does any member of the city council wish to report any site visits or ex parte contacts? Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the impartially or ex parte disclosures of any member of the city council? Staff report, Holly Byram.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. For the record, my name is Holly Byram and I work for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. Sorry, I'm not there in person this evening. We have a fever in the house here, so we'll keep it to ourselves. So I'll keep this short and sweet. The city of Jervis has done several alley vacations in the past few years, and so this is a somewhat familiar process to the city. This alley vacation petition was submitted by Samuel Andrade, and it was signed by all of the abutting neighbors. This is the alley that is within block 25. It's bound by 2nd Street, 3rd Street, Fir, and Elm, and it is currently unimproved grass. I submitted a staff report to the city council, and on the second page of that report, there's an aerial photo so you can see the alley that we're referring to there. There are 8 properties that abut that alley. And just for a reminder, when the city vacates public right-of-way, like an alley, what happens is the alley is split down the center and the property is attached to all the abutting properties. So in this case, the 20-foot by 200-foot long alley is split into pieces, and all of those 8 residents would receive an additional 10 feet in their backyard. The city does not have decision criteria for this application in their development code. As with other cities, you simply defer to the Oregon revised statutes. They lay out the procedures pretty clearly about what needs to be done to make this official. And so on page 3 of the staff report is where I include the criteria. There's really just 3 main questions that you need to answer. The first is whether the consent of all the owners was received. And so what that means is 100% of the abutting property owners signed, and then at least 2/3 of the affected area signed the paper or the petition. When the application was first submitted, the applicant did not have all the property owner signatures. What the city typically does is we help them out, we print out the list so they can take it door to door and get the rest of the signatures. And so that is what occurred, and the property owner has all the signatures that was needed. The second criteria is whether or not the notice has been duly given. In this case, that means that a notice was published in the newspaper for the last 2 weeks. Notice was placed on site, and that property owners within 100 feet received notice of this public hearing in the mail at least 20 days prior to this hearing. And then the last criteria is whether or not the public interest would be prejudiced by this vacation. In this case, it's an unimproved alley, so it's not needed for access. A request for comments was sent to the utility providers. The city engineer and Public Works confirmed that there's no utilities in that alley there. We did receive notice back from PGE, that's the electric provider. They do have an overhead line on the northeast end of the alley, so they're requesting that they retain a 20-foot easement just on that end of the alley for that overhead line. That's something the city has done in the past. They've reserved an easement and still gone ahead with the alley vacation so that the owners could enjoy that yard. So that's not something that's unusual or much of an issue here. And so you'll see that then in the recommended conditions of approval. They're pretty straightforward, and those are located on page 5 of the staff report. It simply puts the obligation on the petitioner to provide that legal description for the alley that's being vacated, and then they are responsible for taking it to the county to get the ordinance recorded so that it makes it all official. So on the bottom of page 5 is the recommended motion, and that is that staff supports this alley vacation, and so staff would support a city approval. I'm happy to answer any additional questions. The application is attached to the staff report there that shows all the signatures of the affected property owners.
I have a question. I see on here that it says the purpose of which the ground is to be used is to build. I'm wondering what the building plan is.
I don't have a copy of any building plans, but I expect that that area will be used for the rear yard setback required on all structures. So I imagine that will allow a remodel of an existing house by providing a little more of a backyard.
On the paperwork that I have, it says alley behind 6 properties, not 8. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference, but I would think it would.
Was that in the application?
Vacation petition.
Oh, yeah, I see that petition. Yeah, there are 8 properties benefiting from the proposed vacation.
Holly, is that something that has to be corrected? Since it's a.
Since it's a legal document.
On the application, no. Where this will matter will be in the enacting ordinance. And that ordinance will be presented in December should the city council support this vacation. That ordinance will include a legal description of exactly what alley is being vacated.
Mayor, I just want to note, we have a hand up on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Where is it, Susie? I don't.
Upper left.
Christie.
Christie, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute. This is, the alley is located right behind my house. My husband and I want to know, is there going to be any cost to us as homeowners?
Would you like me to answer that, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Okay, The cost that's remaining, so the original petition cost money to Mr. Andrade, and then Mr. Andrade will also be responsible for the cost of providing the legal description and then recording the document at the county. And so that is an obligation of the petitioner. Whether or not the neighbors agreed to share that cost is a private matter between property owners.
Can I add to that, Christy? My husband and I signed off when the school vacated the alley behind us, and we did not have to pay the initial fees. But Christy, you will have an increase of property, so you will have a little bit of an increase on your property taxes, just to disclose that happens. Because I don't know if that's what you're asking about funds, that is something you'll need to consider.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, was there anything else? Okay, Holly, do I continue on then, or is it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, are there any questions of staff from the council or of staff from the council before we continue and accept public testimony? I know, but we have to be formal. Okay. I will now accept public testimony regarding this case. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of the application? Anyone that's bored out here that would like to talk? Please come forward. Give your name. Sure, absolutely. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Janelle Cook and I am on Fur Avenue on the corner and the alley is right behind my house. And I think it would be a wonderful for all of us neighbors to be able to split that up and maintain it, mow it and do whatever we want to do. If it's put a driveway or whatever, a garden. It would just really improve the area. And all for it.
To that, I'll say for us, it's an easement. There's water underneath there. So some of the things that you might be able to do with it, you would of course have to check with the city.
Sure.
We have to keep it kind of open, so they need to fix a water main. So I'm not sure if yours includes.
No, there's no utilities. in it.
No utilities. Okay, so yeah, you probably have a better success with that.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, I was gonna say Sam has worked really hard and got to know all of the neighbors and I helped get all the signatures too. And everybody that I ran into was in support of it. So,
nice.
and a good turnout.
It makes it nice for them.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in support? Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to this application? Not seeing any. Would the applicant or any other proponent like to respond to any of the testimony? Are you the applicant? Stan? Oh, hi. Good job. It's a lot of work, isn't it? Speak.
In regards to the question.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Yeah, regarding, in regards to the question of Christine. Christine. Yeah, I've heard from the media that there's gonna be some additional charges to finish it up. And my question is there gonna be a fee for work to gather some money back, or is that gonna be all on my investment? Or?
Holly, can you answer that?
The question was regarding whether there would be any reimbursement.
No, not necessarily, but if there's gonna be some legal paperwork to split up the cost with the neighbors or something, or should I come up with something, or is that my deal because I started a petition, or
Yeah,
That's my question.
That would be a private agreement between neighbors. The city
Okay.
wouldn't get involved in that.
Okay. All right, that was my question. All right.
Would the council like the staff to address the testimony? I think Holly just did that, but does anybody else on staff have any questions? Okay, so I guess the staff summary, is that, am I lost here?
I have nothing further to add. It's a pretty straightforward application.
Okay, is there anyone who'd like to request a continuance to this public hearing? Not hearing any. Before I close or continue the public hearing, are there any additional questions from the counselors or staff or anyone? Because I'm going to close this, so if anybody want to say anything, now's the time. A reminder, once I close the hearing, only counselors or staff may speak. So you guys aren't going to be able to talk anymore. So not hearing any. Oh.
Go ahead, please come forward. And if this pass, how long does it take to process and the owners get, their part?
Okay, can you just give us your name for the record?
My name is Antonia and I live in on 224 Avenue.
Okay. And your question was, how long does the process take if we approve it? Holly?
So we would expect the enacting ordinance to be approved by the city council next month in December. And then after that point, it's just a matter of getting the agreement recorded. So it could be a couple of months, depending upon how quickly that goes at the county.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Because this is it. Okay, public testimony is now closed. I will close this public hearing at 7:55 p.m. I will now entertain discussion on the application and or the motion from council or staff.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
So, we have a recommended motion. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I will move to approve vacation of the 20-foot wide by 200-foot long public alley located within block 25 of the Jervistown plat. Adopt the findings and recommended conditions of approval presented in the staff report. Direct staff to present an acting ordinance.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna do a roll call because it's a vacation. John Harvey,
Aye.
Diana Birch.
Aye.
Mickey Wagner. Aye. Pam Foreman.
Aye.
The ayes have it and the motion carries. Okay, so it's passed. Congratulations, everybody, your new landowner.
We'll be waiting for your garden.
Yeah. I think carrot fries.
Yes, I said tomato. Strawberries.
Full business, the activity tracker. Don't see any questions on this tracker. I was just wondering if we're gonna clean it up a little bit, things that are done and not there, maybe update like on our question tonight about the grant writer, maybe give us an update next month on that would be nice. And then, you know, there's a basketball hoop that we budgeted for. I'd like to ask about that. Over here, is that something we can move on yet?
Let's see, where were we at with basketball?
That was the one that was gonna be installed at the Fifth Street basketball complex. It would just be a short full court, would not be a full court.
Right, we knew that.
Yeah, we can just go ahead and order.
Okay.
You're just gonna install another basket.
We'll just,
on the-
another pole, another hoop, that'll be directly to coincide with the other one, but it'll just be a short full court.
Yay, the kids will be happy. Okay, so Kyle, will you order that?
Oh, but we will have to demo the existing bench that is there. Either saw cut or demo out a section of curbing because they poured that, we kind of did a monolithic floor.
Okay,
So it's gonna exceed probably what might be budgeted. So
okay,
What number was
now it's kind of off the hill. Yeah, well, I've seen it, I did see it too. I think it's number, 8, maybe. Yeah, 8, well, that was a basketball tournament. And that number 8 can go too. The basketball tournament, we should just get rid of that. The safe routes to school is going nicely, it looks like. Thank you for everybody's hard work on that. And then number 11, the Sam Brown House. Not a lot of talk about that. And I talked to Tom, this friend of mine. And I think we need to slow down on that a bit and talk to him because he hasn't really talked to anybody at all. I was kind of like, oh. So I see here that the CPT team is on that project. Anyway, I think talking to the owner about what his wishes are might be a nice place to start. I do have a contact with him. We'd like some help with that. But he wasn't sure about this tours, and he did say that he had talked to Joe, and he had said that he would let us have access at some point, but it wasn't decided in full about getting keys and tours, and then he didn't know anything about the cleaning up from the inmates, which he wasn't opposed to it, but he needs to be informed. So perhaps we can start by talking to him a little bit, maybe put that on the tracker that we need to get a hold of him.
I am a bit confused by that because we do CPT. I'll disclose I'm co-chair of the CPT, and we do have emails and voicemails and conversations that have been documented with Tom in regards to the house. He was actually quite excited that there was renewed interest in the house. And when we were discussing, well, not myself, but one of our other folks was discussing with him, he was excited to see that the house could be, you know, redone, not so much redone, but revised, revitalized. And there has been communication with University of Oregon to go ahead and they will come in and help with restoration once it's in. There is documentation in. So again, I'm confused. I will.
Oh, I had spoken to him, had a verbal conversation with him, and he just said, he gave me the name of Joe. He had talked to our city manager years ago. But he said, unless it was real recent, this was about 3 weeks ago, he hadn't talked to anyone. So we'll just have to reach out to him. Anyway, if we can get it on the tracker that we need to do that, that would be great. Just because it's his house. He hasn't really, he's never signed anything that he would actually do it, which that would be part of the procedure that we need to back up and handle correctly. We're going to do this, which I think it's a great idea. It's just, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. So. Let's see. Anything else? Go ahead.
Susie, what is the status on the new website? Are you guys still looking at them?
Yeah,
or-
Denise and I have a couple more demos scheduled to look at, and once we look at all of those, we'll be able to make a decision and recommendation to council.
I missed that, Diana, I'm sorry. Your actual question.
Where we were on the website, if
Oh,
if we're still like in the deciding mode or like where we were.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking through it.
So, we did complete, item number 12, the, September CERT class. And the next class will be in February of 2023. It is an in-person class unless the pandemic changes things. And you can also take the course online and get your certificates and then come in for the hands-on skills training. Just recently, we had Laura Clifton and Brian Wagner that graduated from that class and received their certificates. So if anybody's interested, there is information out on the shelf out there. We'll give you a little more information about community emergency response. Chief Ledge, in regards to the new fire station, do we have any update on that?
Yeah, so we have purchased some property, on Jensen and Beatville Road. That is in the process right now of being surveyed and the plot is being subdivided, so there'll be 5 acres that will become property of the fire district and we'll start the building process.
Thank you. So I'm kind of lost as to exactly, it'll be on this side of Amazon, right?
Correct, yeah, Beatville and Jensen. That's right by the, right across from the nursery.
Oh, really close then.
Yeah.
Northwest corner.
Well, that still help our homeowners, even though you're not right in town.
Oh, yeah.
That's still because we're in the miles, right? So
That's
that's savings that I told people about. Nice, because that gives a nice wash, right? It gives a nice wash. Yeah.
I didn't understand your question.
No, the homeowner savings that we were gonna
Oh,
get
yeah.
from it.
Oh, that's correct.
Even
Yeah,
though it's- yeah.
Savings comes from insurance, premium reduction.
Right, because that kind of helped us out here in Jervis, you
Sure.
know? Even though we had a little bit of a bond, we got a wash on there. I thought that was really nice
I
feature.
understand.
So I'm glad we're still getting that. Hey,
So do you guys have a hope, like a goal for
For
being
dates,
built?
well, it all depends on how quickly we get this up to county and get our plan,
Okay.
final.
Okay.
yeah. Let's see. Any questions, more questions on the tracker?
I need clarification there. Earlier you said we should strike item number 8, that's the skate park.
Oh, not
Did
the
you
whole
say that?
thing, but there were some things in it, so I wasn't very clear on that, Susan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in the update section, that's intended just to track what's happened.
Oh, like
to
a
date.
summary?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just
So
track
maybe
what's-
add to it, but the basketball tournament is a meal, so just because it didn't sell tickets, not for any other reason.
Yeah, we keep adding to it and we don't take off.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I
Just a
misunderstood
reminder
that.
of what's
Okay, so it's like a blow by blow. All right. Um. let's see. Anything else, Pam? You got anything? How about you, John? Okay. All right, so I'm really glad to hear that we'll be looking into that basketball hoop for the kids. Schedule a work session for the discussion of an ordinance revision on yard parking. Council, Susie, would you happen to have any dates that you were thinking of? Because I have a really busy November.
Historically, we've always reserved the third Thursday for work sessions, which would be November 17th if you want November. I won't be available that evening. I've got a training to be at Thursday and Friday. Otherwise,
You're kind of our go-to for what we're supposed to know on that, so I'd like to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I would think.
so The third Thursday would be December 15th.
Okay. That would work, December 15th.
Yes.
Or boy. Okay, yeah, I'm good for the 15th.
Yeah, I'm good with the 15th.
Nikki?
I will request the time, see if I can get it.
Okay. And Chief, you could be there too.
December 15th.
And you were, I think it's important.
What time?
Well, I work until 5 or 6 o'clock every night, so 6:30. How does that sound, everybody? And then, on the, just, I'll wait till the mayor comment. So,
So, just to prepare for the meeting, what would you guys like to have at the meeting? A copy of the current ordinance and how it reads?
Yeah.
Just that and. have
You know
a
what?
discussion around this.
then we gotta start thinking about that whole area. Everybody over there is so burdened with parking, and it's not just one. We did have one person come and go through a very long, tedious process. We got nowhere with much. And I feel bad about that. But as a council, we need to come together, and I think now try our hardest to figure out a way to help that whole area. That whole area is just, there's no parking. It was a bad design. I'm not trying to belittle it, but it just really, I drove through there and I'm like, I feel bad. There's no parking. No.
So we're looking at, is it an ordinance or is it the building codes? Like, what exactly is it that restricts it, I guess, would be my first question, like, because I know there's been talk about, we have to change like building code or something. Or is it an ordinance, or is that the same thing?
Yeah, so yard parking for Jervis is addressed in our development code.
Okay,
So because it's in the development code, it has to undergo a separate legislative process.
okay,
So public notice, public hearing, all that.
okay,
Parking in general is a different part of our municipal code, which can just be adopted and changed by just adopting a new ordinance without having to go through that formal process.
so we cannot allow yard parking without that full legislation, whatever.
If
all
you
that
want
other
to
stuff.
change that section of the development code, you have to go through that whole process.
So I guess that's part of it, is we need to see what that says and see if that's something that we want to go through, even going through that process. If we can just have a work session to look at it and talk about it versus what options we have just in doing an ordinance and what that might make available. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, I think what we'll do is bring the yard parking section out of the development code to look at, and also bring the general parking in the other section of our code.
okay. And then one thing that I will be trying to look at, but maybe if you guys have resources for what other cities are doing in tight parking situations. You know, if there's parking permitting, if there's, you know, yard parking that's allowed, what does that look like? Some of that kind of stuff. You know, because I know that when we talked about it before, some of the yard parking issues come up to like fire access to a house. Well, so if we allow more yard parking, what does that actually look like? What do we need to have, you know, make sure that we're thinking about?
Yeah, it's all good questions, Diana. John?
Well, it seems to me like, now I'm gonna have to ask questions because I don't remember, but I'll ask the chief. So over there, chief, right now, parking is allowed on the street only for 3 days at a time, correct? It's 72 hours, I mean?
Yeah, so the ordinance and state law is 3 days, 72 hours. You're allowed to park your car on the street without moving it. And as I mentioned before, generally, unless we get a complaint or when the street sweeper goes around the car or weeds and dirt start to accumulate, we don't necessarily, we're not watching every car. Their officers are very busy doing other things. So it's 70, but the rule is 72 hours.
And that's, I think that was maybe put in place just for the street sweeper. So they could get through there, correct?
Well, the 72-hour thing's been a law for my whole entire career. The last 4 decades, pretty much. In most cities, it's 72 hours.
But there's other streets that people park their cars out there. Seems like that's the area that we have the main problems over there. And I know that we've changed some of it to accommodate the fire department because they could be blocked.
Yeah, and that's one of those discussion items, I think, in the work session that you all could look at. Because the parking problem did increase when the no parking signs went in there. Those no parking signs have only been in there maybe the last 8 years or so, 7, 8 years. I don't remember exactly when they went there, but that's an option. You guys wanted to put the no parking in there because of the issue of emergency services being able to get their vehicles in there, as well as I know the garbage service had difficulty in driving the garbage trucks down there. And so Public Works put no parking signs in there, but that's something that, would be an option during a work session for you to discuss.
And also that, then the other thing was if a car is sitting there with expired plates and it doesn't run, well, that's a different situation altogether. That's automatic. Pretty much.
An automatic.
Well, I mean, you could either give them a warning or silent.
Yes,
I
yes.
thought that was part of our code.
Yes, yeah, we get a warning, we try to talk to the property owner first, and then if we're not successful in that, then we either issue a citation or tag it with a tow notice that we're towing it within 5 days.
Okay, well, Susie, it sounds like we have a plan, so maybe if we can just try to follow that, get us lined up on that. Just do something now, because like I say, it's not just the one person. I hear it all the time. How, what do we gotta do, So that would be nice. If we could do that. And I have no idea what. None at all. So I'll look to you guys for that. Okay, so December 15th for that. Action items, consideration to approve agreement with Love Inc. for utility bill assistance. For it.
So, I need to, after we put this in the packet, I had a discussion with Rosetta. We do need to make a couple of revisions. And this is copied basically from the agreement that Love Inc. has with Woodburn. Changing, we'll send $5,000 to Love Inc. to administer assistance program. And I did put in there that 15% will be charged for each assistance check that goes out. In talking with Rosetta on page 3 of the agreement, I think before it said they would make bank statements available. Well, they don't do that anymore. They have a Google spreadsheet that we would have assistance to monitor the activity and charges to the account. So Rosetta gave me this language. Love Inc. shall provide or cause to be provided access to a Google spreadsheet reflecting assistance provided and expenses charged to the checking account for the administration of this program. So that replaces what you have in your copy.
Are you satisfied with the way it reads?
Yes. Yep. And then if you go down to page 4, where I've highlighted it, just the name change, I have the old executive co-director in there. It should be Rosetta, and updated their address. And at the bottom in the signature part, I replaced that other name with Rosetta. So those are the changes.
Was there any other concerns you guys have as a staff? I just again like it the way it's set up so that the staff isn't like you're not having to make the choices or anything. I think that is beneficial. That way it's out of your hands. But yeah, you're the control. You know what I mean? I think that's a good idea.
I just have a question.
Go
So
ahead.
when somebody gets assistance, Love Inc. pays the city directly out of that account to pay their bills, so you're aware of like every time
Yes.
it happens. Plus you'll have access to that Google sheet to show the run, you know, to keep track of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I also have a question, and this is just something that I've seen in other cities. A lot of people, and I'm not, please understand, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful. A lot of people that go in for assistance, and I know that there will be a criterion that has to be met, will go after services month after month through different entities. Do they let you know any of that information at all in regards to, you know, if this person is, it's so that the city can also make a judgment call as to whether or not they're going to assist? I mean, here, I don't see it happening, but it's just something to be aware of.
You want to answer that?
Sure. So I would think like we have an agreement with Love Inc. There's a maximum of $250 per account per 12-month period. So an agreement like that would be between the resident and whatever other program is offering assistance. So
We have no control. They're vetting, they're the ones that will vet. That's again, taking our staff out of harm's way, I think, by not having to say no to somebody. Did that answer your question, Nikki?
Yeah, and I really, the loving is.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. So, does anybody else have any other questions about this? I'd like to make a motion or have a motion to go ahead with this.
I will make a motion to approve the agreement with Love Inc. with the changes as presented for utility billing assistance.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you, appreciate that. Yay.
And will Love Inc. provide like information for us to have out for our people? Or will you
yes,
just verbally tell them when they're having issues?
I'm trying to remember what we talked about. I think so.
I think we'll put it on our website, and it will be, the application will be, if they call me and say, what do I do? You can suggest it to them, but then it pushes it to, you know. Also, I'd just like to say this Love Inc., you guys, that opens the doors for like family building blocks references, to refer people. Next, I'm gonna go at them for transportation for our elderly and disabled, because they might have some connections there to help us with. There's a lot of doors that can be opened for our community. So I'm just really happy to hear this. Thank you, Coach. Okay, Marion County ballot box intergovernmental agreement.
I'm curious, now the box belongs to Marion County, correct?
Correct.
Now, do we have any access to that box whatsoever?
No, that's the elections.
Well, then that is the question I have, is why would we need a intergovernmental agreement with them? We don't own the box or anything else. They're gonna come clean it out and take care of it. Why do we need an agreement with them for that?
Yeah, we don't own the box, but we own the property that the box is on, and I believe that's why they want us to have an IG.
I looked up IGA. I found this on there. And I'll just read it. It's just a little statement. It says that intergovernmental agreements by consolidating resources can reduce the local control. This loss of some local control combined in some cases longer emergency response times can produce a voter backlash, especially if not accompanied by a commensurate local tax reduction. And I'm reading that because I don't want to give up anything, and I still don't understand why we need that. It's just a box. And it's something that we don't even take care of. We don't even touch. I just don't understand why we need a government for that. Doesn't make sense to me. Just giving away some control as far as I'm concerned. So.
Can you read that last part, John, that last paragraph, or last couple of sentences, and I wasn't able to get my head around that.
Well, it just says in some cases, longer emergency response times can produce a total backlash, especially if it is not accompanied by a commensurate local tax reduction. So anyway, that's I'm not for it. I don't think we need it.
Well, in number 2 on the first page of the agreement, it describes the purpose. So the purpose of the agreement is to establish the terms and conditions under which the agency will provide property, which is the city, which shall be used for the installation of a ballot box and metal post for use by the public to deposit ballots.
And that's already been done.
That's it.
It's already been done. So I still don't understand why we shouldn't have to that.
Are they gonna take the box
Of
if we don't
some
sign
kind
it?
of
That's
related.
it. My question.
I mean, it's cemented into the ground.
Okay, I'm just saying,
I don't know what the repercussions are. if we
that's what I want
decide
to,
do
yeah,
it,
is
but
there a?
There's no risk to the city by entering into the IGA.
I'm a little confused by the emergency.
That's what I'm, yeah, well, yeah, I know, get that, yeah.
I think it's, maybe-
States up and tell you some of the pros and some of the cons. That's what the cons.
and I was gonna say, maybe it has to do with a specific type of IGA, because we have IGAs with, for other
So you
reasons
do
too.
give up control. I mean, that part of it is very noted that you do give up pieces of your.
That was just my opinion. You guys gotta make up your own mind.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to have control if it's something, you know, if it's as big as an election. I don't, you know,
Well,
I wouldn't
maybe-
want the city to have anything to do with it, other than having the box here for our residents to be able to put in there versus having to mail it or have to go somewhere else, especially since we're just a few days.
Maybe to help me understand what is the control that you don't want to give up.
Well, anytime that you go into an intergovernmental agreement with the state, city, the county, anything else, there's a lot of things in there that you're required to do because you've signed that agreement. And every time you do that, you give up a little bit of yourself as a city. And if you don't see that, then there's nothing more I can tell you. But that is a fact. And so that's how I feel about it. And I'm not saying there's some agreements you can't get out of. You have to sign some kind of agreement. Not all are mandatory, and this is one that I don't feel is mandatory. And so, anyway, I'm only one person opinion, it's my opinion, so.
Okay, so is there any other? Okay, without that, I'll ask council to make a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Marion County for the ballot box.
Any more discussion?
I have a question. So that's gonna sit out there and take up that little corner forever. And it's only gonna be used once every 2 years, once every 4 years. Are they gonna maintain it when it gets all weathered and icky and people throw crap in it? I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. This is the first I've heard about it, but just listening to it doesn't make sense to me for it to be stationary there forever. For nothing, for a use once or twice every couple of years.
I read an article, maybe this is off the thing, Kathy, but I read an article that the reason that they're doing these things now is because when COVID hit, the city halls closed and the voting places closed. And so people weren't given access to go in and turn in their ballots at these regular stations. And then the article said something about some places were closed, like at business hours at 5 o'clock. And so people were, I guess there's lawsuits even that people are upset that their rights were taken from them because they didn't have that 3 hour window. This was just an article that I read. I'd have to look it back up, but I found it interesting that they actually got people that have complained, and that was one of the asks on these stationary boxes that they're trying to, some class action suit actually is going on, is what this article was saying. So that's just what I read. I read a lot of stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, because I mean, here in Jervis, this is the only, before it was inside City Hall, so you only, if you didn't leave Jervis, like if you didn't work outside of town, you would have to come during City Hall hours to be able to put your ballot in, which doesn't work for some people. Like, I can't make it in here during open hour, I work.
It can't be mailed.
Well, they can be mailed, I suppose, but I mean, but
There are options.
but I'm just saying, I mean, but not on the day of election. I can't mail it on Tuesday. It has to be in one of these boxes on
No.
Tuesday.
No, that they have people lined up taking ballots.
As long as it's postmarked by the 8th. they can
So-
take them.
But I'm just saying, like, I mean, it
There's one
opens
for
up more options, but part of this agreement is that the county will take care of the box. So that's part of what this, that's why we have this agreement. It goes both ways. We're agreeing to let them use it, but they're agreeing to take care of it. So,
Well, and also, we do have a lot of folks that don't drive. So being able to get to one of the locations that there are going to be the people there accepting the ballots may be hard for some folks, whereas blocking the sidewalk.
Pam, did
I
you
got
have
a question.
something?
Yes, I
Are
do
those
have a
boxes
question.
Tamper-proof?
Just a moment, John. Pam, go ahead.
So I have dropped my ballot into the box. It actually has a lock and a piece that goes up and over the ballot slot. So my presumption would be that once they collect it at the end, for all of the ballots, that those will be locked and secured, so they will not have an option to be putting garbage in that during the other time. Certainly they can put garbage in it right this minute because it is unlocked. But for the long breadth of time that it will not be in use, those should be locked and secured, so we won't be collecting other stuff.
That is true, and I would say any questions as to the design of the boxes, I would direct to Marion County Elections, because the box belongs to them. We're just providing the space.
John, go ahead.
My question was is the tamper-proof? I mean,
That would be a Marion County thing, which is good,
it's-
but I don't know. So was the motion made and you can get back in? Okay, someone roll call down.
I agree with the motion that we should.
There's the agreement.
With the agreement. Okay, yes.
I,
Diana, John.
No.
All right, so the ayes have it and the motion carries. New business, a consideration to support partnership to solve statewide homelessness and emergency. I've been getting some emails on this and a lot of interesting facts. Let me look this. Did you guys read on it?
Yeah, so at this point, we can just have like Susie respond and say we're interested in participating, right? Is that what?
And then money would come to us, correct?
If they,
And how much, you know?
if they, what they're wanting.
Well, these are proposals, and the money amounts are in the packet, in the letter that they provide. And so I think there's 2 different proposals that they're gonna go forward with.
Yeah, the Mayor's Association is doing anything on it. I've participated a little bit, but I haven't had a whole lot of time looking, but
they did say no city will get less than $50,000.
yeah, but, I was unclear though what our expectation of us was. It's kind of all over the place right now. There's so many ideas being thrown out. That's maybe why I'm getting a little lost, because I'm between emails and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think for starters, the Mayor's Association is requesting support from all of the cities to support them in submitting these proposals to the legislature.
That's kind of what I got. And I'd be willing to do something like that. As much as I could.
So if the council is in agreement to do that, then I need to let League of Oregon Cities know by tomorrow that you're.
That's why I was like, oh, that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think it's worth offering our support.
Absolutely. Anybody else have anything on it? I'm just gonna keep educating myself on it. I can forward some of those emails if you guys would like to read. Some of the things I've been doing.
Do you want to have a motion?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion that we accept the partnership needed. Well, put on there. We don't have one, so.
partnership to solve statewide homelessness emergency.
So I'll make a motion to accept the partnership needed to solve statewide homelessness emergency with the Oregon Mayor's Association.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it, motion carries. We'll move the staff report. City manager motion.
I provided my written report. I do have a couple of extra things, unless anybody has questions on the written. Danny Stevens contacted me today about Winterfest and if there's interest in having Winterfest, the annual Christmas dinner tree lighting. Her concern is they don't have money budgeted to support the event. She can donate custodians and the space, but the expectation is that the city would pick up a majority of the cost. Last year, it cost the school district, I think it was about $5,300, and that was staff time, food, arts and crafts, all those kinds of things. So we are coming up on a month of it happening, if it's going to go forward, and I haven't heard any discussion on it. So Dandy just wanted me to talk to you guys about it and see what you'd like to do.
Was that it? Were you done?
Yeah, for the Winterfest.
Would you like a response now?
Sure.
Okay, so I did, during the Day of the Dead celebration, talk with Mother Cruz, who's the one that generally deals with those. And she had stated that there are too many things going on and too short of notice to be able to put anything on. And it was suggested by Dr. Helms that we not do it this year, but do a spring festival. Especially with it being so dark and cold, and looking at it when we have the daylight savings hours. There was another idea brought up by Councilor Gonzalez about doing a tree lighting, maybe having it where families could come out, bring an ornament and put it on the tree, and then we would have the tree lighting similar to what we've done in the past with a child doing it.
I guess I'll just add in a little bit. I'd like to do the Christmas drive-through. Keith and I are gonna go over to Grand Ron and help the Christmas truck get decorated as the man has broke his shoulder. But December 14th was a day that that could be possible for Dave, the truck guy. And it will actually be a gooseneck trailer this year with everything. I think maybe if we put the tree lighting with that date, that would be great. The school agenda has a game that night, so I did talk to Father James over at Sacred Heart. He said we could stage from one of their parking lots or street. He would be fine with that, but it would be a drive-through, chief, and I would need maybe a lead car. Okay, it's next Tuesday, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, we could do it just like we did before, or
Yeah.
like we done for the school
Yeah,
Right.
but could we do it backwards like that if the stage over?
The only concern, I'm sure Susie can weigh on it, would be the city resources are used for the drive-through, what liabilities that the city have, and most of the time, if you have a parade or movement through and people out there, there's liability concerns. I just let you know.
Or maybe a waiver or something, kind of, I don't know what the school does, but, I'd like to do it, that day. Would that work schedule wise for you?
Yeah, we'll make it work, absolutely.
Okay, and, you know, advertising, doing flyers, getting it out there for everybody, but Nikki, what do you think about a tree lighting for that? And bring the ornament, and then end up downtown hill or something in front of City Hall, would that be like they used to?
I think that would be.
Maybe we could just do it December 14th. Want to try that?
Sure.
We can join up here.
We do hot chocolate.
That'd be nice. I'll do some cookies. I'll do
We
cookies.
were thinking we could have the kids decorate and get a canopy or something. And allow the kids to decorate.
He said, I'll make your cookies. He knows.
Oh.
But yeah, so that would be great. So.
Okay.
Susan,
If that's good with everybody, I'll get back with Danny then and let him know. When that's the school. Tree lighting, if I can just sleep. Also, when I talked to Rosetta, I talked with her about the suicide prevention training. She said her schedule is pretty well open in 2023. I think we decided that after January would be a better time to try and schedule something like that. So I thought it might be best to get dates from the council that I could take back to Rosetta and just let her know what works for you guys.
what about that third Thursday? We talk about that. We have open for workshops instead of that, maybe. That day.
So are we wanting this to be just for the council or the community?
I'd like to open it, community, but then that leaves a location issue for us.
Yeah.
Because I think if enough people showed up, this wouldn't be big enough.
Right.
So there's only two options in this city, and that would be the public school or the gym, and that's a private thing. And, you know, I don't know any event coordinator there, but that's always an option.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, whatever works for you guys. January typically tends to be a busy month with meetings and just getting going for the year.
I don't know.
Do you want to look for some February dates? Throw some February dates out?
Yeah.
The third Thursday in February is February 16th. I mean, we could do it any day.
I think, a lot of people work, like I work Monday to Friday, and evenings are even hard for me sometimes with all my busy stuff that I do. What about a weekend? Would that be a possibility? Saturday afternoon or something? Because we didn't have the technology, it kind of broke down for the English speaking, but I think that it was a pretty good class. I took it. Brian, you took it. It was informative, but I think it would have been better if we had the big screen and all that. I found it to be very helpful with today's things going on. Probably something we should do for the kids, you know. I'd like to take it again.
I know the school, and I've been in contact with Oregon Impact. I didn't realize Loving is looking at doing something too. So we have wellness programs that are required to address office. And so with that, we were looking at trying to have a community event with, I believe it's called Oregon Impact. That's specifically designed for that. So I'll work with Susie on that, and because I know they were willing to come down.
Nice.
It's a statewide organization and state funding.
Maybe make it a big thing, huh?
That's
Like
what
a
they were wanting-
breakout
That's what
session.
they were wanting to do, yes.
That'd be nice.
So why don't we work together on that and then maybe at a workshop, we can throw out some dates to you.
All right. I'm good with that, yeah.
Good with that.
Thank you. Susie, sorry, we just interrupted you.
Yeah, and I pretty well covered it. I just wanted to talk more about the public works transition. As I said, with John's retirement and promoting Kyle up to his position effective Monday. I do have, the, job, utility worker job advertised. First review of applications will be tomorrow. To date, I've only received one application. So Public Works is maybe shorthanded for probably the next month, so just be patient with them. But I hope to have somebody on board early December.
Congratulations, Kyle.
Thank you.
I think you'll do a good job.
Forward to it. He will.
Well, that day you guys showed me the plant out there, he was so informative, he knew his stuff, you know? You could tell, it was gonna be great.
Sure hope so, yeah. Like I said, been looking forward to it for a long time.
You got it. Okay, so, is that everything, Susan?
Yes.
Chief, your department?
Sure, first of all, John, I just want to say 24 years, you're well-deserved to get a retirement, congratulations. And we wish you the very best. It's been good work with you. You had a big job here and did a lot of great accomplishments, and just thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Their lessons have started at the grade school. Lieutenant West has started that. This week was lesson 2. If you look at our Facebook post, we'll try to, somebody had suggested that we put some pictures of the lessons in the books and follow the lessons through so parents could kind of have a better idea of what we're addressing. And that's been going really good. We're actually only have 2 sessions at the grade school because they combined 2 classes into one, which is a huge class, about 50 kids at one time. But I've stopped in a few times, and between Mr. Broadhurst, who's very much an advocate for the program, and Lieutenant West, the kids are just very interactive. We'll actually have an outside agency of the dare officer that's interested in becoming a dare officer, whereas they're going to become visiting in a couple weeks to see the program and hopefully attend the class in February. And then it was a pretty nice honor to be asked to participate in the DARE International strategic plan, and they used what's called the SWOT analysis, not like the SWAT team of the police department, but they look at the S for strength, W for weaknesses, the O is for opportunities, and the T is for threats. And so I was able to participate in that and use our own community for advocating for some recommendations and changes. But the program's pretty darn effective. And then we finally got a date from a vendor that you guys award for us. And so as of right now, March 23rd, 2023, they expect to have the delivery of the generator. So I threw that on there. So that's all I have.
Public Works, John, your last roll.
My last one. You have my written report. One line item though, we did get the silent check valve replaced on a 7.5 horse pump in the water plant. Basically what it does is it keeps water from going back into the system, and it failed, so it allowed the electric motor to run backwards and basically let water kind of circulate within. There is an electric motor that's going to replace that 7.5. It's on order. It should be here probably in a couple of weeks. And then we'll replace the pump also, and that'll be another 10 weeks out before that comes. So at least it's back in operation. And I would just like to say it's been a pleasure working here. I've enjoyed it, and I wish you guys all the best of luck.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, business from the mayor and council. I already brought up the Christmas drive-through. So, thank you, everybody, for coming. It's a pleasure. John, congratulations. Kyle, congratulations, both of you. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Be all right. I'm done. The time is 8:47 and this meeting is adjourned.